Hey friends, welcome to Worship at the Gathering. My name's Adam Baker. I'm your online host. I'm grateful that you're here today. If you're new to our channel, maybe you haven't done this yet, go ahead and click to subscribe, turn on those notifications. New content, new messages are going to be available to you every single week. It helps you to know that there's always opportunity for you to grow in your faith here at the Gathering. We're deeply invested in that, deeply interested in that, and want to help you. So don't miss out on anything that we have to offer to you here in online worship. Click to subscribe, turn on those notifications. You'll always know when something new is coming your way. There's also a link to find out more about our church in the description of this video, as well as a link to give if you'd like to support the different ministries of the church. There's also a link to a Connect card. Now, I'd love for you to fill that out because it helps us to know you are right here with us, you're worshiping with us, and we'd love to let you know that there's more of a community that's available to you as well. This is a great first step toward entering into that community. Fill it out. We'll reach out to you. We'd love to help you get more connected here. Now, last week, we talked about the joy that Jesus felt when he was entering Jerusalem, the joy of the people that surrounded him. So obviously we're feeling. Joy is something that we like to feel, right? Sadness and sorrow, now, that may not be something we deeply delight in as well, but it is something that Christ felt, that Jesus went through. That was the first week of this sermon series that we talked about sorrow. We've talked about sorrow. We've talked about joy. All of us have experienced these. I wonder what other emotions are coming our way during this sermon series. I'm excited to find out. I hope you are too. So friends, let's watch this sermon together. I invite you to share it with somebody, to invite somebody to sit with you and experience it. Again, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Hey y'all, I'm Pastor Sarah Rugenstone, the Clayton site pastor, and I am thrilled to be here with you in this way today. So, did you know that with my particular brand of neurodivergency, I can access my emotions pretty quickly? Sometimes that's a superpower, sometimes it's my kryptonite, sometimes it's a little bit of both. But allow me to set the scene for you for a time that I accessed my emotions pretty quickly. And I'll allow you all to be the judge on what emotion we're talking about here. So, here's the scene. It's the Wild West, yelling, pushing, a dull roar of noise, pulling of hair, the ripe smell of middle schoolers right after gym fills the musty black and red cafeteria of my middle school as somebody's shuffle iPod blasts Rihanna's hit song Umbrella at full volume. The year is 2007. My hair is both curly and straight because that's how Lily in Hannah Montana wore her hair and she was cool. And I'm already overwhelmed because for some reason unknown to me at that time, places with a lot of sensory input put me on edge. My clothes felt weird on my body all of a sudden, itchy and constricting. I think I forgot to do my math homework. My food on my tray suddenly didn't seem very appealing. And why are the lights buzzing? My friend looked at me weird and I think she's mad at me. Why do people play their iPods on full volume in public? So yes, dear listener, little Sarah was overstimulated. And then my friend looks at me in the midst of my internal stewing and says, actually, I'm gonna go sit over there today, nodding to her newly made track friends. See, these were A-team track runners, and I was merely C-team. That's right. They had to build a C-team for me, a couple of other little artists, and a girl from the super smart kids school who came to utilize our sports program. My A-team friend wanted to sit with someone else. And that was my final straw that day. I boiled over. I stood up, I pointed at her, and I called her the meanest name middle school me could think of. And this will show you a lot about how sheltered I was. So I stood up and I called my friend, are you ready? I called her a brat in front of the whole cafeteria. I couldn't believe she didn't want to sit with me. The embodiment of cool, calm, and collected. She looked at me, took her tray, and walked away. I sat down, tears welling, cheeks red hot from anger, embarrassment, and shame. So today we're continuing in our series, Emotional Roller Coaster, the ups and downs of Jesus' last days. And the reason we're doing this series is because Jesus shows us ways to navigate and handle the human experience of emotions. We've explored the emotions that Jesus himself experienced of sadness, joy, and today we're going to talk about a time that Jesus experienced anger. But before we hop into all of that, I think it's really good to define anger because it's a big emotion, which means it's a tricky one. It's also easy to access, and so sometimes we jump to anger to mask other emotions that we're feeling. For example, in the story I just shared, middle school me went to anger to mask my hurt, my rejection, my feeling of rejection, and my sense of overwhelm, which makes sense. It's really natural for humans to do that. Anger is a basic human emotion that feels a lot like this guy from Disney Pixar's Inside Out. Anger is also known to be related to the fight, flight, or freeze response of the human nervous system. It's a response that prepares humans to confront. The American Psychological Association defines anger as an emotion characterized by antagonism towards someone or something you feel has deliberately done you wrong. Anger can be a good thing. It can give you a way to express negative feelings or motivate you to find solutions to problems. This is why when you experience anger, your heart rate quickens, your cheeks flush, your mind gets a bit of tunnel vision, you're amping up. So, also, a lot of the times when people think of Jesus, they think of peaceful, kind, mild, and gentle. And yes, Jesus is all of these things. And Jesus is also sharp, sarcastic, and experiences moments of annoyance and anger. I can't blame him. His disciples are ridiculous. Bless them. Jesus doesn't mince words. When he's angry, he expresses it. In Matthew 16, he calls his friend Peter Satan and tells him to get behind him. In Mark 3, it says that Jesus' eyes burned with anger. And in Luke 13, he calls Herod, the corrupt ruler of the time, a fox, non-complimentary. And in Matthew 12, he calls the Pharisees serpents, that brood of vipers. Not a brood of vipers in the church. Here's the thing to note about Jesus' anger, though. It's what we call righteous anger because he's both human and divine. When Jesus is mad, it's because an injustice is happening, an injustice against God's people. When Jesus is mad, it's because people don't understand who he is and the reality of what he's going to bring. When Jesus is angry, it's because people have been blocking other people from places of worship and experiencing God's grace. That's the kind of stuff that makes Jesus of Nazareth angry. Now, I know that we said we're talking about Jesus' last days, but this story is technically from early on in his ministry, and he's expressing anger, and it references his last days, so it counts. Receive these words from John chapter 2. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He found in the temple those who were selling cattle, sheep, and doves, as well as those involved in exchanging currency sitting here. He made a whip from ropes and chased them all out of the temple, including the cattle and the sheep. He scattered the coins and overturned the tables of those who exchanged currency. He said to the dove sellers, "Get these things out of here. Don't make my Father's house a place of business." His disciples remembered that it is written, "Passion for your house consumes me." What did I tell you, y'all? Jesus doesn't mess around. Jesus is indignant that people are scamming people in God's name. Angry that everything has become about money and profit, all masked as faithfulness. He's witnessing a deep injustice, people attempting to bar poor people from God's house, people having to pay for a sacrifice. He's witnessing rich people capitalize on vulnerable people in God's name, in God's house. So he upturns tables, throws their coins on the floor, sets the animals free, and straight up chases out the sellers with a whip. Whoa. Prince of Peace, is that you? Yes. Sometimes peacemaking requires stuff being flipped over. And as we can see, Jesus here is experiencing some anger. So what do we do with our anger? We feel the anger. What is it telling you? How is it informing your way forward? Jesus is feeling the anger here. He's processing. And here's the thing, though, to remember about Jesus' processing. This story shows Jesus, who is perfect, being angry. And the story is honestly not super clear on whether or not Jesus is actually using the whip to enact violence, or if he's using it simply to freak them out and chase them. Regardless of how you wish to interpret Jesus' actions here, this story does not grant us, imperfect people, permission to express our anger violently. Jesus' actions are against injustice and also done by a perfect being who is both human and divine. As imperfect people, we will never express violence in a just and honorable manner. So no, violence is not the answer. What this story does do for us as imperfect people is show us that anger is normal, valid, and showing us something. Anger is often telling us about something going on beneath the surface. Check out this feeling wheel. Okay, so when you're angry, ask yourself, what is my anger telling me? Let's zoom in on the red, on the anger. If you're feeling angry, it can mean a lot of things. You can be embarrassed, let down, bitter, frustrated, critical, annoyed, disrespected, jealous, betrayed. And all of those are really hefty emotions to hold and carry. And they spark up feelings of anger, feelings that we feel we need to protect ourselves. And sometimes even we experience righteous anger on behalf of something done to others or something done to you that was unjust, evil, or wrong. A lot of us might be feeling that right now with how things are going in our current government. Anger towards unjust acts towards our most vulnerable siblings. I know I'm angry. And sometimes anger won't be righteous. And that's also normal because we are humans who experience life through our emotions. So that makes sense that anger comes around. Remind yourself that it needs to be a visitor and to let it go. Because anger is a powerful tool giving us a lot of adrenaline and power. And you will run out of fuel so fast if you run your tank on anger full time. Anger is a brief, hot fuel that burns bright and it launches us into something, but it cannot sustain our spirits. So we talked about feeling anger. Let's talk about how to express the anger. And we can express the anger to God, to trusted friends, to your journal, to the wrongdoer, through your art, or through your protest. And I say bring your anger to God first because God can handle the anger. Read the Psalms. It's wild how angry the psalmist gets, and God held it. God can handle our purest, rawest emotions that we experience. And for the sake of your relationships, bring your fullest anger to God first. Ask God to help show you what the anger means and is telling you. You can also bring your anger to the wrongdoer. But this is why I need you to have had first taken it to God. Because if you go out of order here, you're more likely to act on impulsivity and harshness rather than anything productive. And after you've brought it to God, then processing with your trusted friends who know you in your heart and can help see other perspectives. You can also process by journaling or making art. And I think all of these are good steps to take before going to the wrongdoer. Give it 24 hours before going back to the wrongdoer. That gives you time to process and sort out what's going on a deeper level. But Pastor Sarah, Jesus didn't give it 24 hours. And yes, but again, he's Jesus, you're you, we're imperfect. He didn't need 24 hours to think of what to tell the Pharisees because Jesus is perfect, and we need a buffer. We can also express our anger communally. This is very cathartic or healing and also shows the power of the people. For example, protesting injustices happening in this country is a way of expressing anger communally. Boycotting harmful corporations together is expressing our anger communally. Calling our representatives to tell them over and over and over again to protect the people they serve is a way of expressing anger around injustice communally. Jesus protested in the temple. That was a communal expression of anger if I've ever heard of one. And our anger can move us to action. We can't hold on to our anger. We need to be able to move beyond it. Because dwelling in anger has negative physical effects on your health, your mind, and your relationships. The American Psychology Association warns us that anger turned inwards or unexpressed can cause hypertension, high blood pressure, and depression. Dwelling in anger can lead to pathological expressions of anger, such as passive-aggressive behavior, getting back at people indirectly without telling them why rather than confronting them head on. Or a personality that seems perpetually cynical and hostile. People who are constantly putting others down, criticizing everything, and making cynical comments. They've not learned yet how to constructively express their anger. And not surprisingly, people like this aren't likely to have very many successful relationships. Jesus does not dwell in the anger. He does his thing. He flips tables, and then he says he's going to rebuild something even better, which is a huge diss to the Pharisees because it took them a hot minute to build that temple. Receive these words from John chapter 2. Then the Jewish leaders asked him, "By what authority are you doing these things? What miraculous sign will you show us?" Jesus answered, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll raise it up." The Jewish leaders replied, "It took 46 years to build this temple, and you'll raise it up in 3 days?" But the temple Jesus was talking about was his body, and after he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered what he had said, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. We are also invited beyond the place that anger keeps us in. We were not created to only experience one emotion, but multitudes. We were also not meant to hold everybody else's emotions and feelings all the time. However, in contrast, our current society is often glued to screens and social media where there's an endless stream of other people's feelings, emotions, anger, and outrage. Now, a word of caution as I get into this, though. I will say that you cannot urge other people, particularly other people who are not as privileged as you cannot urge them to move beyond their anger at a rate they're not ready to. You have to make space for other people's anger and hurt to breathe, to have the floor so other people can learn and witness to others about the injustices being done. One example of this is people who sit in privileged positions try to get women, particularly women of color, to move past their anger all the time. People constantly tell women not to be so angry. Things aren't that bad. You're blowing it out of proportion. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, no wonder we're angry. And there's rarely any room for it. But women's anger is valid. And I encourage you to think twice before you dismiss a woman's expression of anger in real life or on social media. And speaking of social media, you're going to see a lot of angry people out there of every gender expression. And social media is built that way on purpose to enrage and engage you. It wants you to go through every slide, scroll through every video, click every link that says, "You won't believe this, he really did that." It's an outrage cycle. Social media seeks to numb us with rage to where we're stuck. And then they can get us to believe just about anything. And that's how the algorithm works. Social media is built to exploit our urge to be shocked, enraged, and it's all built to get you to scroll through. I vote that we keep social media for what it was supposed to be. Pictures of food, animals, and connecting with friends. And also, folks who aren't on social media, you're not exempt from getting caught in rage cycles, because this happens in real life groups of people too. People who are constantly cynical, angry, or stuck in rage and always pulling others into it. I encourage you to be aware of when you're in the rage cycle, or to note when others around you seem to be in one. Make note of if you need to be there for a minute, feeling it, or if you're ready to express and move beyond, all at your pace. Because like I said, we are not built to physically run on anger. It's unsustainable. And a few helpful tips for ending a rage cycle. Reverend Nadia Bolz-Weber urges us to ask ourselves, what is mine to do and what is not mine to do? I also recommend getting your news from local news websites, international news websites, or newspapers, rather than social media that's built to engage and enrage rather than to inform. We also have to talk about what is right in the world, what good things are out there, and share those moments with those around us. Because if we forget to share the good, we will quickly lose sight of the good. But God gave us the emotion of anger for a reason. Anger is good, helpful, informative, and helps us to have deeper insight into what we're feeling about given situations. It's important that we feel the anger as it comes, express the anger, and then work to move beyond the anger at our pace. As we close today, I'm going to read a poem that I wrote based upon this scripture today. Poetry is a way that I'm able to express my emotions, particularly anger, so I thought I would share that with you today. It's called A Holy Rage. Don't they know I serve our God of holy rage? Don't they know passion for God's house consumes me? It rises up and flushes my cheeks, radiates frenzied echoes of heat all through my limbs. A holy rage emerges when God's house is made into a den for wolves in sheep's clothing. My words will be for you, God, like a whip tied from ropes, and in anger I'll strike, I'll tear across the places that claim God's name, but it's in vain, that they try to diminish you, your love, your reach, and your rage. It's in vain that they feebly attempt to enclose you into a box of their own clumsy, haphazard, and splintered making. They must have forgotten you, God, or maybe they never knew that you're a carpenter, a bridge maker, a box breaker. Don't they know that anything they try to take from you you, you can raise up 3 days later out of a tomb. Don't they know that our God refuses to be contained? God's house will not be made a mockery. I will work to tear every hinge from every door they've slammed in our face, and I will claw up every damn table they've bolted and weighed down with lies and discord until my hands bleed, my muscles tear, all while laughing in the face of the devil who thought he could keep us out. Don't they know we serve our God of holy rage? Amen.